can prepare our products for sale within markets in country and markets across borders, and use the infrastructure that we have already built in COMESA, in EAC, and in ACFTA to enhance our trade volumes. The other issue that impedes the numbers for our trade and investment and commerce is the issue of infrastructure, which my brother HH already spoke to. Whether it is infrastructure in energy, and that's why we need transmission lines across our countries. It is the reason why we must pool our energy resources. We have huge energy deposits in Kenya, wind, solar, geothermal. We have energy resources in other parts, in Zambia, in Tanzania, in DRC, in this country, for hydro. It is the transmission lines that will make our energy reliable so that we can do more in terms of facilitating industrialization, value addition, manufacturing of the products that we produce in our countries. Infrastructure about rail and road. Today, we are in the process of concluding the first 600 kilometers in Kenya of the LAPSSET corridor that will join Kenya, Sudan, South Sudan, and Ethiopia. Again, to support trade and investment. I'm happy to report that we are also concluding the next phase of the standard gauge railway that will leave Naivasha in Kenya to Uganda, to DRC possibly, and eventually to connect the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic. It is our hope that we can together build these pieces of infrastructure so that we can remove the hurdles to our trade of goods that is occasioned by lack of infrastructure. Mr. Chairman, as we waited to come to this meeting, I had a conversation with the Prime Minister of Eswatini. And he told me that it took him 13 hours to come from Eswatini to Bujumbura, a journey that would otherwise take him 2.5 hours. But because he had to go to all manner of capitals, he had to go to South Africa, then go to Ethiopia, then go to another place. He left home one day and arrived here a different day. We need to reduce and have a proper mechanism for our bilateral air service agreements to make it easier for people, business people, goods, services to move from one country to another. Let me also touch on what we need to do to build the financial infrastructure to support trade across borders in our countries. We have African financial institutions, Africa Development Bank, Afri-Exim Bank, Trade Development Bank, which is headquartered here in Burundi. We have the Africa Trade Insurance Agency. We have the Africa Finance Corporation. These are African institutions that are agile, that understand our continent very well. And as governments, as COMESA, we must deliberately support these institutions so that they can support our trade, they can support our investment, they can support our value addition because they understand us and they understand our continent. Sometimes we spend too much time chasing multilateral institutions, and we should. But we must also believe in ourselves and build our own African institutions, because they develop financial tools that are sensitive to our situation, that are agile, that are responsive to the situation in our continent. Let me give an example, Mr. Chairman. Today, we spend $5 billion in exchange rates for goods that we sell to other parts of the world. $5 billion. Afrexim Bank has developed a financial tool using known as the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. This Pan-African Payment and Settlement System will allow us as Africans be able to trade for goods and services in our own currencies. It is no longer possible for us to change into other currencies to be able to trade in Africa. 16 countries have already signed in. I want to ask those of us in COMESA, for us to be able to trade faster, easier, let our central banks join the Pan-African payment system, so that payment and settlement system, so that our traders, our business people, we can assist them to be efficient in trade. Instead of chasing currencies, they should be chasing products and making sure that they facilitate trade across our borders. Mr. Chairman, in concluding, let me say a very significant development happened on the 25th of July this year, because the TFTA came into force that brings together COMESA, EAC, and SADC. Now we have a bigger trading bloc that brings together 800 million people with a GDP of $1.8 trillion, and it gives us an opportunity to create a bigger space for our business people to trade, to invest, and to do commerce across our borders. I must congratulate Madagascar for ratifying the ACFTA. It brings us into a space where Africa today begins the journey to trade with itself in a meaningful way. It is not possible, Mr. Chairman, to speak about COMESA without speaking about Africa Union, because we are one and the same thing. And I'm happy that Musa Faki Mohammed is here. For us to think about Agenda 2063 of the Africa Union, we must also think about how do we reform our organization, the Africa Union. In the last summit, you as heads of state gave me the mandate to work on reforming the institutions of the Africa Union. We've made progress. We've had several meetings with the AU Commission, and our intention, and we will be presenting a report to the heads of state in February on our proposals of how do we make the Africa Union Commission a fit-for-purpose organization, one that will speak for us as Africa, the 1.4 billion people, in an effective, efficient, forthright manner. Our proposal includes making the Africa Union Commission count. We have a robust, huge bureaucracy. We must give it some power for it to make decisions on our behalf. We must make the organization fit for purpose. Mr. Chairman, I know you have attended the Africa Union meetings. Africa Union must stop being an organization that makes decisions at night. Because as you know, we burden our bureaucrats, we burden junior people to sit across the night for them to make decisions at 4 a.m. and 3 a.m. and 2 a.m. when us as heads of state have left. I mean, a decision where the real decision makers don't make the decisions. Instead, they leave it to their juniors, is an organization that will not succeed. We must change the Africa Union so that it does business on behalf of the 1.4 billion people in our continent. Mr. Chairman, it doesn't make sense that we have an organization that starts a meeting at 8 in the morning one day, a meeting that ends 8 in the morning the next day, across the night. And the most important decisions are left to technocrats at 2 a.m. in the morning. I mean, surely. Number two, an organization that is not accountable is an organization that has the chance to fail. Africa Union, there's a complete disconnect between the Pan-African Parliament, which is supposed to be the people's representative to hold the Africa Union Commission to account. But the Commission reports to nobody. Parliament sits in South Africa, they never attend any meeting, and it is completely disconnected. I had a chance, Mr. Chairman, allow me, to meet with the Speaker of the Pan-African Parliament 10 days ago. And we have agreed on what kind of reform do we need to carry out in the Pan-African Parliament. Today we have 5 representatives from every country. We believe that that number is too big. We need to reduce that number to between 2 and 3. And we need to make the Pan-African Parliament a full-time organization to hold the Commission to account and to make sure that that organization is functional. And finally, Mr. Chairman, and I've taken more time, is also to have the ratification of the Africa Court of Justice so that Africans don't have to be carried to The Hague and other places whenever there are issues in our continent, that we can actually sort out our own issues as a continent whenever there are issues, that we can also sort out our trade conflicts. And I'm very happy, Mr. Chairman, that finally the UN, because the final thing I want to say is, apart from sorting out our organization, we need to silence the guns that we have always said that we should in our continent. There is still too much conflict, too much instability, too much war all over our continent. It is not possible for us to trade. It discourages investment if we don't have peace, stability, and security in our continent. I am very happy that the UN has now passed a resolution last December that going forward, the Africa Union Peace and Security Council, the AU fund, will now be funded by assessed contributions of all UN countries so that we can better support countries that have challenges of insecurity, of war, and conflict. It is imperative that we secure our continent because it's the only way our business people can do trade. It's the only way investors, African or foreign, can invest in our continent. Again, Mr. Chairman, let me say I'm truly grateful. And allow me to say that because my brother Rajalina here has challenged me, that I am requesting for your support for the former Prime Minister of Kenya, Raila Odinga, who was also a former AU infrastructure envoy, and he did a wonderful job. as he campaigns to be the next chairman of the Africa Union Commission. I have asked for your support. I will continue to ask for your support. And I'm sure we all believe that in competition, and we say, may the best man or woman win. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. Now I invite the Vice President of Libya to pronounce his speech.
Yeah, I'm on board. Yes.
Merci. I invite the Vice President of Uganda to pronounce his speech.
Your Excellency, Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia and the outgoing chairperson of COMESA Authority, Your Excellency, Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi and the chairperson of COMESA Authority, Your Excellencies, the presidents of the COMESA member states, heads of delegations, chairperson of AU Commission, Secretary General of COMESA, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I bring you, Your Excellency and Chair, warm greetings from your brother, His Excellency, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda. And I request you to allow me to present his message, which reads as follows. I bring and extend to you warm and fraternal greetings from the people and the government of the Republic of Uganda. I also wish to congratulate the COMESA for holding its 23rd summit and celebrating its 30th anniversary. I wish to extend my heartfelt appreciation to Your Excellency, President Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia and outgoing chairperson of COMESA Authority, for ably steering our organization for the last 1 year. We have greatly benefited from your wise stewardship. To the incoming chairperson of COMESA Authority, Your Excellency Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi, I would like to say congratulations upon assuming this strategically important role for the next 1 year. I also extend my gratitude to the people and government of the Republic of Burundi for the warm reception and hospitality extended to us since our arrival for this summit. Getting to the theme of the summit, accelerating regional integration through the development of regional value chains in climate resilience, agriculture, mining, and tourism, I find it important to share with you my thoughts. First, why is it important to accelerate regional integration, and why would development of regional value chains be envisaged to be one of the catalysts? Our usefulness to each other as COMESA members does not lie in our geographical closeness to each other alone, but also in our ability to solve each other's problems. Business prospers by finding out what our people want and providing solutions. In his treatise on the wealth of nations, Adam Smith noted that economies thrive through competition, capitalism, and a free market. He further opines that our individual need to fulfill self-interest results in societal benefits. Now, therefore, as individual COMESA countries pursue national interests, it is of strategic importance that we do aim at identifying what other countries in the region and beyond need and provide it. Second, ensure that fulfillment of national interests results in wider societal benefits beyond just our individual countries. How can we be able to do that? By acting in unison and synchronization. This process must be driven by the governments and propelled by the private sector. But for us to do this, there are some underlying factors we must address decisively. There are some statistics we sometimes take pride in, but when in real sense, we should feel very uncomfortable with them. For example, the 21 countries of COMESA cover an area of 11.8 million square kilometers and have a population of 560 million people and a combined GDP of US dollars 768 billion. Compared to the 27 European Union member states that occupy 4.233 million square kilometers with a population of 448 million people and a combined GDP of US dollars 19.35 trillion. Secondly, Your Excellency, intra-COMESA trade stands at 7% of total trade compared to intra-European Union trade of 65% and intra-Asian trade of 25%. Why are we still standing at just 7% amongst ourselves despite 30 years of dedicated efforts to boost regional trade under the COMESA plus 13 years under the preferential trade area? Your Excellency, part of the answer lies in the Prebisch-Singer hypothesis of the 1950s and 1960s. They postulated, and correctly so, that prices of primary goods such as raw materials and agricultural products tend to decline relative to the prices of manufactured goods over time. Thus, a country needs to export more of this in order to import less of the manufactured goods, ultimately draining of foreign exchange and thus negatively impacting on interest rates or the cost of credit and raising the cost of production, among others. This perpetually keeps countries that are dependent on primary goods poor and underdeveloped. Therefore, as we try to take our theme of accelerating regional integration through the development of regional value chains in climate-resilient agriculture, mining and tourism forward, we must deliberately move away from dependence on primary commodities. Regional value chains that are dealing in primary commodities are not a solution to Africa's or COMESA's problems. We must individually and collectively put in place the requisite regulatory and physical infrastructure and human resources to drive the industrialization of Africa in general and COMESA in particular. We must integrate on land, i.e. roads, railways, water, air, digitally and regulatory-wise. We must desist from institutionalizing non-tariff barriers to trade by concluding protocols on how to manage them rather than completely outlawing them. COMESA countries must work together to improve the size of the market rather than each country fighting to protect its small market. Your Excellency and Chair of COMESA, at the sidelines of the recently concluded United Nations General Assembly, I had the opportunity to deliver a keynote address on the third industrial development decade for Africa. My first question was, how much did we achieve during the first and second industrial development decades for Africa, and what have we achieved so far in the third one, given that it runs from 2016 to 2025? Now, from my engagement with you today, It is crystal clear that we can only usefully talk about accelerating regional integration through development of regional value chains in climate resilient agriculture, mining and tourism, if first we are concentrating on value addition and manufactured products. Secondly, we set out deliberately to solve societal problems and address human needs. Studies and reports from reputable institutions such as COMESA, World Bank, Afrexim Bank, and UN Trade and Development indicate that by processing just 20% of the copper produced within COMESA, we would add an estimated US $15 billion annually to our collective GDP. Secondly, by removing trade barriers, improving regional infrastructure, and developing agricultural value chains, we could increase the volume of trade between our countries by at least 30% over the next decade. And third, by elimination of non-tariff barriers to trade and improving market access and respect to intra-COMESA trade in staple foods like maize, rice, beans, etc., we could generate an additional $20 billion annually. Your Excellency, as I conclude, you will note that I have talked, among other things, about agriculture. You will recall that in 2003, we, under the African Union, adopted the Comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program and the first 10-year action plan in Maputo. In 2013, we adopted another 10-year strategy in Malabo. This 10-year strategy is coming to an end in 2025, and Uganda has been working closely with the African Union and its member states to develop the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program Strategy and Action Plan 2026-2035. Therefore, Uganda will be hosting an extraordinary assembly of the African Union heads of state and government on 9th to 11th January 2025 in Kampala to endorse the strategy and the action plan. We shall be very pleased to host you, Your Excellency, as we deliberate on the way and a very important strategy and action plan that is hinged on building resilient agri-food systems on the continent. You will appreciate, Your Excellency, that a continent and people that cannot feed themselves cannot guarantee their future. Hence, the importance of us coming together to deliberate on how to build strong agri-food systems for both agro-based industrialization and food self-reliance on the continent. I thank you all. That is the message, His Excellency, President.
Thank you so much, SS Vice President of Uganda. Now, I call upon His Excellency, the Prime Minister of Eswatini.
Excellency, Mr. Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi and incoming Chair of the COMESA Authority, Excellency Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia and outgoing Chairperson of the COMESA Authority, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it is both a privilege and an honor for Eswatini to be present at this significant gathering, and I bring with me warm greetings from His Majesty King Mswati III and Head of State of the Kingdom of Eswatini, Her Majesty the Queen Mother, and the people of the Kingdom of Eswatini. Allow me to begin by extending our sincere gratitude to the government and the people of Burundi for their warm hospitality, hosting us here, a reflection of the unity and solidarity that COMESA stands for. We commend Zambia for its steady, insightful work as outgoing chair, guiding our efforts with purpose and vision for prosperity across the region. As we gather under the theme of accelerating regional integration, Eswatini is committed to ensuring that our natural resources truly serve our people. In the mining sector, this means prioritizing the beneficiation and processing of minerals within our borders rather than exporting raw materials. This approach not only maximizes economic benefits, but also fosters job creation and skills development right at home. We are excited to announce the establishment of a national mining company that will act as a gateway for responsible partnerships and substantial investments, amplifying our shared commitment to sustainable community-centered mining within COMESA. Excellency, Eswatini's unique cultural heritage and biodiversity hold tremendous potential to captivate the world. To unlock this potential, however, we need to address structural gaps in accessibility, particularly in the area of transport and logistics. Developing tourism means making our sites appealing and easily reachable, which requires direct flights from established global travel hubs and a more flexible visa regime to welcome more visitors. Within the COMESA region, collective steps like harmonizing visa requirements, promoting and strengthening regional travel can transform our individual destinations into a unified, sought-after tourism corridor. This vision supports our shared aim to build resilient, climate-conscious tourism industries that empower local communities and drive sustainable economic growth. For Eswatini, agriculture has long been a fundamental sector, sustaining our people and driving economic growth. However, as climate change affects rainfall patterns, crop yields and food security, Eswatini is implementing adaptive measures to strengthen climate resilience. We believe in moving beyond subsistence farming by encouraging commercial agriculture, in particular contract farming of high-value crops that embraces climate-smart solutions, including water-efficient irrigation systems and sustainable farming practices. To further enhance our agricultural resilience, Eswatini recognizes the value of regional cooperation. By collaborating with COMESA member states, we can expand access to climate-tolerant crop varieties and improve cross-border trade for agricultural products. The development of a regional agricultural value chain can link producers to broader markets, stimulate agribusiness, and ultimately improve food security across our region. For Eswatini, this approach aligns with our aim to transform agriculture into a driver of rural development and poverty reduction. Excellencies, in Eswatini, we are guided by the principle of Ngwe, an ethos of moving with speed to implement and expedite impactful change. This spirit of urgency aligns perfectly with COMESA's mission to fast-track integration and realize shared goals swiftly and effectively. We hope to inspire the same momentum within COMESA, emphasizing that timely action and collaborative efforts are essential for regional resilience and prosperity. With this collective resolve, we are confident that our ambitions will transform from plans to meaningful impact for our nations. Eswatini is primed for investment, with opportunities across key sectors that position us as a strategic entry point into the wider COMESA and African markets. We have worked to create an enabling environment equipped with targeted reforms and support structures to welcome investors who share our vision for sustainable growth. By partnering with us, investors can not only benefit from a market ripe with potential, but also contribute to the transformative journey of Eswatini and the COMESA region. Our doors are open for partners who see Africa's promise and are eager to help us realize our shared dreams of economic advancement and regional integration. The foundation of all these ambitions, however, lies in peace and stability. Without them, our shared vision of robust trade, economic growth, and development within COMESA cannot be realized. Peace and stability create the confidence that encourages investment, allows business to thrive, and facilitates the free movement of goods and people across our borders. Eswatini is committed to maintaining and promoting peace within our borders and throughout the region, because we understand that sustainable development depends on it. As a bloc, we must prioritize collaborative peace-building efforts and ensure strong governance and work actively to resolve conflicts, as only then can we cultivate an environment where trade and economic progress flourishes. In closing, Eswatini's unwavering commitment to COMESA's vision is reflected in every sector we invest in, from sustainable mining and accessible tourism to resilient agriculture and a welcoming investment landscape. By deepening our integration across these areas and upholding peace and stability, we are laying the foundation of a stronger, more interconnected, and prosperous region. Together, through COMESA, we are capable of achieving the resilience and prosperity our citizens deserve, forging a legacy that uplifts all members of our community. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Maintenant, je voudrais inviter Excellence le Premier ministre de Djibouti pour prononcer son discours.
Monsieur le Président de la République du Burundi, distingué chef d'État et de gouvernement, Madame la Secrétaire Générale du COMESA, honorables invités, tout protocole observé. Je voudrais tout d'abord exprimer mes gratitudes au gouvernement et au peuple du Burundi pour l'accueil chaleureux qui nous a été réservé. Et je félicite le président du Burundi et désormais président en exercice du COMESA et le président de la Zambie, président sortant, pour le travail accompli. Je remercie aussi et je félicite aussi le président Ruto qui devient vice-président de COMESA, de notre organisation. La République de Djibouti, fidèle à ses engagements, se reconnaît pleinement dans le thème de ce présent sommet. Nous sommes persuadés qu'il est de notre intérêt commun de progresser dans cette vision stratégique et faire partie des marchés régionaux plus intégrés. Djibouti, en tant que nation, avec un potentiel touristique unique, voit dans le développement de la connectivité régionale une opportunité cruciale pour renforcer l'intégration et attirer davantage de visiteurs dans notre région de COMESA. Cependant, il est essentiel de mobiliser les financements nécessaires pour cette ambition. Djibouti est un pays stable et en paix, condition sine qua non pour l'intégration économique régionale. Nous avons aussi 11 câbles sous-marins qui traversent notre pays. Afin de relever ces défis, nous envisageons plusieurs pistes. Nous comptons d'abord sur des partenaires publics, privés, permettant de partager les coûts et les risques avec les secteurs privés pour accélérer la mise en place des infrastructures clés. En outre, nous sollicitons le soutien des banques de développement régionales et internationales, telles que la Banque africaine de développement et la Banque mondiale, pour financer des projets ayant un impact régional majeur. Nous explorons aussi des programmes de financement verts et climatiques pour concevoir des infrastructures interconnectées, respectueuses de l'environnement et en s'alignant avec les objectifs de durabilité. Notre pays actuellement consomme de l'énergie renouvelable à 60%. Nous croyons fermement à ce que ces approches permettront de transformer Djibouti et la région en une destination touristique connectée, attractive et résiliente. Ensemble, en unissant nos forces et nos ressources, nous pourrons bâtir des infrastructures de qualité au service de notre développement commun et capables de favoriser amplement les échanges intra-COMESA. Enfin, profitant de ce fructueux sommet, je voudrais réaffirmer ici que le candidat de Djibouti à la présidence de la Commission de l'Union africaine, M. Mahmoud Ali Youssouf, ministre des Affaires étrangères et de la coopération internationale, est le meilleur candidat pour l'Afrique. Diplomate, dynamique et chevronné, il a accumulé une expérience de plus de 3 décennies, maîtrise parfaitement le français, l'anglais et l'arabe. Qui dit mieux? Il pourra sans aucun doute porter les espoirs de tout un continent pour un avenir prometteur auquel nous aspirons tous, où la paix et la démocratie permettront de soutenir un développement social et économique dans un environnement meilleur pour tous les Africains, à l'instar des autres chefs d'État et de gouvernement. Je suis presque certain que le président William Ruto du Kenya et le président de Madagascar vont soutenir aussi notre candidat. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup de votre discours très riche. Et maintenant, I'd like to invite the Vice Prime Minister of Somalia to pronounce his speech.
Honorable His Excellency Evariste Ndayishimiye, the President of Burundi, His Excellency Evariste Ndayishimiye, the President of Burundi, and the Chair, Heads of States, Governments, Excellencies, other dignitaries, greetings to you all. It's with great honor that I address this esteemed summit of COMESA on behalf of the Republic of Somalia, representing my President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, who could not attend here today, but I bring his well wishes and greetings to the President of Burundi and the people of Burundi and the larger summit. Of course, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the Republic of Zambia for their successful stewardship under the leadership of their President Hakainde Hichilema for our last summit as the outgoing chair. I express also our profound appreciation to the people and the esteemed leadership of Burundi for convening this important summit and the warm welcome and hospitality extended to all of us. The Federal Republic of Somalia is in particular is deeply grateful to the Republic of Burundi as one of the key troop contributing countries to the African Union transmission mission in Somalia. The sacrifices made by the Burundian troops have played a crucial role in supporting our efforts to regain peace and stability. We thank you very much on behalf of our people. I also pass my warmest congratulations to the newly elected Bureau. We're confident in Burundi's leadership as chair, Kenya as vice chair, and Zambia as rapporteur. Somalia looks forward to working closely with the Bureau, supporting their efforts to advance our shared vision of a peaceful, secure, and prosperous COMESA region. Together, I'm certain we will achieve remarkable progress. It is in settings of this nature that we can reflect on the urgent needs and aspirations of our member states under the theme of accelerating regional integration through development of regional value chains and climate-resilient agriculture, mining, and tourism. Since our last COMESA Summit, Somalia has taken a transformative approach under the leadership of President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, marked by significant reforms in governance, security, and economic stability. Transition to democracy and the finalization of the constitutional review process has been a long, elusive goal for the Somali people. It's indeed very important to note that despite the massive progress in recent years across our member states, the absence of peace and prevalence of conflicts in many regions of the continent has and continues to hinder our efforts to trade freely and collectively prosper as a continent. Undoubtedly, the best way to keep peace and enhance prosperity is to invest in good governance and sustainable political institutions. It is on this note that the Somalia strives to achieve goals agreed upon by COMESA as well as the African Union, that of upholding democratic principles, constitutionality, and human rights. Yesterday, the National Consultative Council for Somalia, the NCC, has once again endorsed the agreements forged earlier, setting the nation into a series of elections, starting with district elections, federal member state elections, and finally national elections, all based on the principle of one person, one vote. This is going to be a momentous occasion for the Somali people, for it has been almost close to 60 years since we have had democratic elections on the principles of one person, one vote. The federal parliament, on its part, is scheduled to finalize the constitutional review process and also endorse the legal regulations that would govern one person, one vote elections. This, we hope, would lay the foundations for a stable and democratic Somalia that would be contributing its share of prosperous progress and prosperity to this esteemed COMESA common market that we are part of. Ladies and gentlemen, in my conversations with some of the heads of states here, I was delighted to note that there are significant Somali business communities in their countries, and they take pride in the role that Somali communities play in contributing to their economy. And of course, with the resurgence of the Somali state as a viable institution, the Somali people and the Somali state look forward to playing an important role in contributing to this $14 billion trading entity of ours, COMESA, and enhancing it to even much higher levels. As President William Ruto noted, it is important that this accounts for only about 10% of our potential. I think we have a lot of room to improve our intra-COMESA trade. And Somalia, as a country that is strategically located in the Red Sea area and the Indian Ocean, can certainly contribute to a better trading among our member states, but also connecting many of our land-linked countries to the broader global supply chains. Ladies and gentlemen, the attainment of peace and security is, in addition to good governance, a necessary prerequisite for economic growth, integration, and prosperity. We are glad to note that in the security front, the Somali National Army and the different levels of the security forces have achieved significant gains in their fight against Al-Shabaab. And of course, with the help of our partners, we have regained and liberated a number of districts and regions, and millions of Somalis that used to live under Al-Shabaab are now enjoying the benefits of living in a freer and a more under the government control. Ladies and gentlemen, the ATMIS mission, that at its height in the previous format of AMISOM and ATMIS used to be over 20,000 personnel contributed by our African brothers and sisters, is now phasing out. As you are all aware of, what used to be at its peak about 20,000 is getting to less than half of that. And it's going to be transitioning into a mission that is going to be more focused and streamlined to the needs of our armed forces. And gradually, the Somali security forces will be taking over the responsibility of peace. Despite these positive developments, we remain grateful to the countries from Burundi to elsewhere across the continent who have contributed to keeping peace in Somalia in the past. But we are glad to report that soon we will be able to take charge of our security on our own, as we are heavily investing in the training, capacity building, and reorganization of our armed forces. Ladies and gentlemen, on the economic front, Somalia has concluded its debt relief not that long ago, and now we are putting in place a national transformation plan that would help us to realize our potential and target our productive sector, as that is the theme of this gathering today, from fisheries, as we're blessed with the longest coast in the continental Africa, and we have a huge potential in marine resources, agriculture, and livestock. But we remain cognizant of the fact that investment in infrastructure is important for all the member states so that we can trade together in a much more meaningful way and impactful manner. Interestingly, Somalia trades with faraway places from Asia to South America to import sugar, coconut oil, and all kinds of basic commodities that could be produced in the African continent. So we realize a better integrated infrastructure in the form of ports, aviation, digital, can help us in do business in a more seamless manner. Furthermore, I would like to highlight that Somalia has indeed departed with its history of humanitarian crisis and conflict, and the testimony of that can be provided in the following observations. Somalia is one of the 3 African states that is member of the UN Security Council. Somalia has not only successfully defeated Al-Shabaab, but also has become an active member of the East African Economic Community, and it will continue to play a useful role in the COMESA Club also. One of the last testimonies and developments in this month in Somalia is the arrival of the Turkish naval ship with the state-of-art capabilities in oil and gas exploration, a prospect that is vast in the Somali seas as well as the land. So while the world used to, send troops and maybe food items to Somalia in the past, now we're getting into a stage of partnerships in terms of economic growth and strategic engagements in oil sector, in fisheries, and in other productive activities that COMESA members are also highly interested in. Ladies and gentlemen, despite these good developments across the economic sphere, the political and social developments, there are challenges. And one of those challenges sometimes arise in the form of some of our neighboring countries that at times infringe on the rights of Somalia's sovereignty in the form of Ethiopia's MOU with the region of Somalia not that long ago. Somalia remains committed to respecting the principles of COMESA and the African Union, that of sovereignty and territorial integrity, that ought to be upheld at all locations. In conclusion, we as the African continent at large and the COMESA member states in particular must also take stock of the global dynamics, conflicts and changes that can have serious impact on our economies, while we also need to keep an eye on opportunities that come our way. Developments in the Middle East, the Red Sea area, conflicts in Ukraine and other places have had and shown a profound impact on our development aspirations. They have disrupted our supply chains, have an impact on our food security and the debt crisis. It is therefore crucial that we further strengthen our trading lines, integrate our economies, accelerate the infrastructure developments and projects that would increase the prospect of doing business and in the arena of land, transport, aviation, digital and ports, as I mentioned earlier. Electricity is another important infrastructural element that needs further integration. Africa consumes less than 1% of industrial energy as compared to maybe Germany and France consume more energy in industrial production than the whole of Africa. Those kind of numbers should tell us that we need to improve in that arena. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude that Somalia remains committed to being an active and a proactive member of the COMESA family. We hope to present opportunities for trading with different members and also capitalize on the opportunities that this forum provides. Once again, I would like to thank the organizers, the people of Burundi, the President of Burundi, and the management of COMESA for this important gathering. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Now may I invite our Secretary General of COMESA to pronounce his speech. The floor is yours, Madam.
Your Excellency, President Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi and Chairperson of the COMESA Authority, Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia, host for COMESA, and outgoing Chairperson of the Authority, Your Excellency President William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, and Vice Chairperson of the COMESA Authority, Excellencies, Presidents, members of the incoming and outgoing Bureau of the COMESA Authority, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Excellency, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Excellencies, Heads of regional and international organizations, distinguished delegates. It is with great honor and immense pleasure that I welcome you all to the 23rd COMESA Summit Heads of States and Government in the lovely city of Bujumbura. I'd like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the heads of state and government, their representatives and delegations, distinguished delegates who have traveled far and wide to be part of this important summit. I highly appreciate the gesture of solidarity to COMESA. I wish to take this opportunity to congratulate the newly elected members of the Bureau, represented by the President of Burundi as Chair, the President of Kenya as Vice Chair, and the President of Zambia as Rapporteur of the Bureau. Your Excellency, Evaristo Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi and Chairperson of the Bureau of the Authority, I wish to pay a special tribute to you for your government and people of Burundi. Your election as Chairperson of the COMESA Authority, Your Excellency, is indeed a clear testimony of confidence and an endorsement of Burundi's commitment and support to the regional integration agenda of COMESA. I also wish to acknowledge the support and guidance that I have received from the outgoing Chairperson of the COMESA Authority, His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema, his government, and the people of Zambia. The Republic of Zambia has been at the helm of COMESA during the past 16 months. Your Excellency, during your tenure, COMESA attained several economic integration milestones. For instance, significant progress has been made in facilitating intra-regional trade through various interventions, including customs border management, simplifying clearance procedures, digitalization of trade instruments. In addition, the Regional Food Balance Sheet Initiative has been expanded, as well as enhancing target value addition and competitiveness of local products. It is also a period during which the Access to Clean Energy program for Eastern and Southern Africa, targeting 100 million beneficiaries, including women, was launched in June 2024. Great appreciation goes to the World Bank for the support to this timely program that aims to fill the gap of access to energy for millions of women and men in the region. Further, the last 16 months have been a period during which efforts have been enhanced to guard against the region against epidemics and disease through cross-border coordination of member states on prevention, local production of pharmaceutical products, timely response to disease outbreaks using a One Health approach which focuses on people, animals, and plants. In addition, it has been a period of continuous growth of COMESA institutions and promotion of investments and access to markets, including for women and SMEs. To the outgoing Chairperson of COMESA Authority, I would like to say thank you for your visionary leadership. Excellencies, Heads of State of Government, Honorable Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, we convene at a pivotal moment in the COMESA history when we are celebrating 30 years of COMESA existence. The journey from 1994 has been filled with great achievements and challenges, as well as lessons and opportunities that we must seize for the future. Allow me to highlight some of COMESA achievements over the years. On economic integration, trade, we have established the COMESA Free Trade Area. Through various programs, FTA has increased intra-regional trade by reduction of trade barriers and improvement of the business environment. Establishment of one-stop border posts and enhancement of support to small-scale border trade. Trade volumes increased from $1.9 billion to $14.1 between 1997 and 2023. On infrastructure development, we promoted investment in transport, energy, telecommunications to facilitate economic activities and connectivity. The recently launched Ascent program to enhance access to clean energy for 100 million people will contribute to SMEs' productivity, protection of the environment, health of women and children, and enhance education among young women and men through connection of schools and health facilities. Further, energy will facilitate trade and investment in the region. On investment and industrialization, the region has seen a boost and significant growth in manufacturing capacities due to efforts in investments and in the industrialization development to add value to primary products like leather sector, agro-processing, and textiles. On gender and social affairs, COMESA has established institutional structures and policy frameworks and platforms to advance gender equality, women and youth empowerment, social development. More than 600,000 women and youth are supported with business-related resources, networking opportunity, and capacity building and market exposure. Despite these achievements, the region has been faced with challenges including economic disparities, external shocks, climate change, disease outbreaks, youth unemployment, and political instability. To survive, COMESA has remained resilient and adaptable in the face of global economic challenges and crises. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, as one of the 8 regional economic communities of the African Union, COMESA continues to play a leading role in supporting continental integration efforts through its various initiatives and institutions. For instance, the entry into force of the COMESA EAC SADC Tripartite Free Trade Area in July 2024 is no mean achievement. This not only reduces challenges associated with multi-membership to various regional economic communities, but also sets a strong foundation for developing regional value chains and enhancing connectivity within the region. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, as I conclude, I wish to reiterate that COMESA's strength lies in its foundation aspirations of unity of purpose, collective vision for economic integration, cooperation, and sustainable development amongst its member states. Established in 1994, COMESA aimed to address various economic and social challenges while fostering a prosperous and integrated regional communities. COMESA's founding aspirations still remain. By standing together, we can overcome the challenges and external threats we face and realize the full potential of our region. I'm convinced that with our collective commitment, determination, and wisdom, this summit will take a major step forward in COMESA's journey towards prosperity. I thank you all for your dedication and commitment, and I look forward to a fruitful and inspiring summit. I thank you.
I thank you, Madam SG, for your good statement, and I congratulate you for your commitment and for your wonderful work you are doing since your appointment in COMESA. À présent, je voudrais inviter le président de la Commission de l'Union africaine à prononcer son discours, lequel je remercie pour avoir voulu participer dans ces assises au nom de notre organisation continentale commune dont le COMESA fait partie. Vous avez votre temps pour votre discours.
Merci, Excellence Monsieur le Président Évariste Ndayishimiye, Président de la République du Burundi, Président en exercice du COMESA. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs d'État, de gouvernement et de délégation, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, Madame la Secrétaire Générale du COMESA, Monsieur le Secrétaire Exécutif de l'UNECA, Monsieur le Directeur Général de la ZLECAF, Monsieur le Directeur Général d'Africa CDC, distingués invités, Mesdames et Messieurs. J'éprouve un immense plaisir de participer au 23e sommet du COMESA, qui correspond également au 30e anniversaire de celui-ci. Joyeux anniversaire. Je voudrais également exprimer mes sincères remerciements à son Excellence, Monsieur le Président Évariste Ndayishimiye, au gouvernement et au peuple burundais pour l'accueil chaleureux au rythme de ces tambours célèbres, fierté de la culture africaine et reconnue comme patrimoine de l'humanité, ainsi que de l'hospitalité qu'ils nous ont réservée. Dans le panorama pas toujours reluisant des communautés économiques régionales, le COMESA fait figure d'une organisation en vie, en action, en termes d'échanges commerciaux et surtout d'intégration régionale qui va bien au-delà des limites de ces 31 pays membres. Championne en un certain sens de l'intégration des marchés avec des instruments et des institutions très solides, le COMESA a inspiré les négociations de l'accord créant la ZLECAf à partir de l'expérience des négociations de la zone de libre-échange tripartite. Je suis informé que les trois communautés, COMESA, ECA et la SADC, s'activent à faire de l'opérationnalisation de la zone de libre-échange tripartite une réalité et sont prêtes à analyser comment elle peut, avec la ZLECAf, accélérer l'intégration continentale. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs d'État, j'attire votre attention sur la nécessité de la ratification du protocole sur la libre circulation des biens et des personnes. On ne peut pas faire du commerce s'il n'y a pas la liberté d'aller, de venir et de s'établir. La COMESA peut jouer un rôle important à ce sujet. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, permettez-moi de mettre l'accent pour le louer sur le développement des chaînes de valeur régionales dans les secteurs clés de l'agriculture, des mines et du tourisme. Dans la région COMESA, le secteur agricole représente, nous disent les statistiques, 32% du PIB et emploie 80% de la force de travail. Pour faire face aux défis liés au changement climatique et à l'accès encore fort limité à la technologie, le COMESA collabore étroitement avec l'Union africaine à travers l'agenda 2063 et les engagements de Malabo sur le développement de l'agriculture. Ce partenariat appuie le développement des plans nationaux d'investissement dans le domaine de la sécurité alimentaire. Bien plus, COMESA participe dans la mise en œuvre de la stratégie post-Malabo visant le développement des systèmes agroalimentaires résilients, incluant l'irrigation et la gestion des eaux, la formation de plus de 100 000 agriculteurs au phénomène de changement climatique, ainsi que la plateforme digitale sur les données relatives aux transactions commerciales en est une illustration concrète. Dans le domaine des mines, l'Union africaine a développé une vision continentale. Je suis heureux de constater que COMESA s'aligne parfaitement sur cette vision, avec l'objectif de promouvoir l'augmentation de la valeur ajoutée de cette ressource pour accroître sa contribution au PIB, aujourd'hui estimé à seulement 10%. Dans le secteur du tourisme, qui constitue 7,2% de la richesse de la région, je me réjouis que COMESA appuie les pays membres dans le développement des pratiques durables, de l'amélioration des infrastructures touristiques et le marketing digital. Avec tous ces atouts, il n'y a point de doute que COMESA devient un hub compétitif qui attire d'importants investissements dans les secteurs de l'agriculture, des mines et du tourisme. Vos efforts établissant les liens entre les recommandations du secteur privé à travers le forum de business organisé il y a 3 jours et le secteur public méritent également d'être soulignés. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, bien que COMESA est un marché commun de l'Afrique orientale et australe, dont la vocation est principalement économique et commerciale, il n'en demeure pas moins qu'il aborde lors de ces réunions l'épineuse question de paix et de sécurité tant régionale que continentale. Je voudrais saluer le travail du comité des sages du COMESA ainsi que l'engagement de la secrétaire générale qui assiste à toutes les réunions entre l'Union africaine et les communautés économiques régionales à ce sujet. Il me plaît de souligner le privilège pour la Commission de l'Union africaine d'avoir une collaboration étroite avec COMESA en matière de paix, de sécurité et de gouvernance à travers 3 composantes clés que sont la méthodologie d'évaluation de la vulnérabilité structurelle, l'agenda de la jeunesse, paix et sécurité, dont le président Évariste Ndayishimiye est champion, et l'observation des élections, dans une approche globale y compris les suivis respectifs des recommandations des missions conjointes d'observation électorale. Le COMESA comprend 21 membres appartenant à presque toutes les communautés économiques régionales du continent, à l'exception de la CEDEAO. Cet espace géographique connaît une situation sécuritaire des plus difficiles. En effet, de la Libye au Mozambique, en passant par le Soudan, la Corne de l'Afrique, les Grands Lacs, des défis sécuritaires importants se posent à nous. Et si nous ne faisons pas attention, risquent de s'imposer à nous. Comprenez bien ce que je voudrais dire. L'Union africaine, à travers ses instruments, notamment le Conseil paix et sécurité, ses envoyés spéciaux et autres missions, s'active à la résolution de ces conflits anciens et nouveaux, tout en appréciant vos efforts dans la recherche des solutions à ces différentes crises. Il est fortement souhaitable que les décisions et autres recommandations de vos assises soient en conformité avec celles des instances continentales en charge de la question. Le Conseil paix et sécurité, malgré ses faiblesses, voire contradictions, demeure jusqu'à preuve du contraire l'instance fêtière du continent en matière de paix et de sécurité. Il m'a été donné de constater des incohérences, voire des contradictions dans les décisions du CPS et entre celles-ci et celles prises au niveau inférieur, celui des communautés économiques régionales. Ce n'est pas pour la première fois que je le souligne. Étant à la veille de la fin de ma mission à la tête de la Commission de l'Union africaine, il est de mon devoir d'insister sur cette question qui risque de discréditer notre architecture de paix et sécurité dans son ensemble, et particulièrement son organe principal, le CPS. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, depuis 2017, il a été engagé une réforme institutionnelle et financière de l'Union africaine. Le président William Ruto en a parlé avec beaucoup de relief. Je voudrais saisir cette occasion pour vous rappeler que les deux chefs d'État qui ont été chargés de cette réforme appartiennent à la COMESA. Le président Paul Kagame, dont je profite pour saluer le courage et l'engagement, et le président William Ruto qui a pris les relais. Et vous savez bien que les Kenyans savent prendre les relais, au propre comme au figuré. Et donc, connaissant son engagement, je suis sûr que cette réforme utile, urgente, indispensable soit une réalité. Le président Ruto a parlé du Parlement panafricain. C'est vous, les États membres, vous en avez fait un organe consultatif. Il doit être un organe délibérant. C'est mon point de vue, je l'ai défendu depuis que je suis à la tête de cette commission. Il est important vraiment que des décisions courageuses soient prises, et puisque vous constituez plus de 40% des États membres de l'Union africaine, les décisions prises au niveau de COMESA sont importantes, à la limite déterminantes. Ai-je besoin de terminer au terme de ces mots en réitérant en guise d'au revoir mon indéfectible attachement à l'esprit de franche et efficace collaboration entre les communautés économiques régionales et l'Union africaine, que j'ai continué à entretenir et chercher à rendre audible tout au long de mes 2 mandats à la tête de la Commission de l'Union africaine. Cet attachement, je le souhaite vivement durable et continu, même au-delà de la fin imminente de ma mission. Je constate que les 4 candidats à ma succession sont tous membres des pays de la COMESA. Certains d'eux sont présents. Je connais certains, ils ont des capacités certaines. J'espère que le relais soit pris et soit pris courageusement. Faire mieux que ce que nous avons pu faire. L'Union africaine a besoin de réformes. L'Afrique a besoin de réformes courageuses en matière de paix et sécurité, en matière d'intégration régionale, pour qu'on parle d'une seule voix et que l'on puisse compter. Nous sommes au G20, Nous allons bientôt être membres permanents du Conseil de sécurité, je l'espère, conformément à notre décision des élus unis, avec droit de veto pour pouvoir peser sur l'avenir du monde. 1,4 milliard d'habitants, 30 millions de kilomètres carrés, plus du quart des membres du Conseil des Nations Unies. Je pense, avec les ressources dont on dispose, nous devrions prendre date avec l'histoire. Et cela est possible. Cela est possible à partir de votre sommet aujourd'hui. Prenez des décisions courageuses, franchissons un certain nombre d'obstacles que nous nous sommes mis nous-mêmes parfois pour pouvoir être dans la cour à la place qui nous revient. Je vous remercie de votre aimable attention.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président de la Commission de l'Union africaine. Et maintenant, je vais inviter Monsieur le Secrétaire exécutif de la Commission économique des Nations Unies pour l'Afrique, Monsieur Son Excellence, Monsieur Claver Gatete. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi, the host of this important summit and the chairperson of the COMESA Heads of State and Government, Your Excellency Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia and the outgoing chair of COMESA Heads of State and Government, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Your Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellency Chireshi Kapwepe, Secretary General of COMESA, Honorable Ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to address the 23rd Summit of the COMESA Heads of State and Government as we convene under the theme Accelerating Regional Integration through the development of regional value chains in climate-resilient agriculture, mining, and tourism. I wish to begin by extending my gratitude to His Excellency President Evariste Ndayishimiye for hosting us in this beautiful city of Bujumbura on the edge of one of Africa's most magnificent lakes, Lake Tanganyika. This summit holds special significance for Economic Commission for Africa, where advocacy for greater regional cooperation is a founding principle and a core mandate of the organization. Indeed, we can trace this commitment to continental integration back to ECA's first ever meeting held in Addis Ababa in December 1958. At the time, the legacy of colonization weighed heavy, and there were only 10 independent member states on the whole continent. At that first meeting, our member states made a clear and loud request to ECA to support greater policy coordination and cooperation among the newly independent African countries. Our resolve on the integration agenda has not wavered since then. Indeed, COMESA has a special place in our institutional memory at ECA because its predecessor, the Preferential Trade Area for Eastern and Southern African states, was the outcome of a decision at our first extraordinary conference of ministers, which took place in Lusaka in March 1978. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, since its founding in 1994, COMESA has achieved some remarkable things. With a combined population exceeding 650 million, a collective GDP surpassing $1 trillion US, and merchandise trade valued at more than 400 billion US dollars, COMESA is a major pillar of Africa's regional integration agenda. Moreover, COMESA has established policies and institutions which will have a key role to play in the creation of a single continental market within the framework of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. To cite a few examples, the COMESA Competition Authority, established in 2013, was the first regional competition authority in Africa and the second in the whole world. In its first 10 years alone, it handled over 360 merger cases and investigated 40 cases of restrictive business practices. COMESA has also created various trade facilitation instruments and financial institutions such as Trade Insurance Agency, the COMESA Clearing House, and the Trade and Development Bank, whose assets have increased from less than $1 billion US in 2012 to more than $10 billion US today. It is our responsibility to grow this bank to facilitate greater investments across the COMESA region and beyond. And I take this opportunity to congratulate my brother, Admasu Tadese, President of TDB, for this great milestone achieved in a very short time. Nor can we overlook the momentous achievement of the negotiations between COMESA, East African Community, and SADC to form the tripartite free trade area. In July this year, we had the wonderful news that the tripartite was coming into force after the required threshold was reached of 14 ratifications. This was a remarkable feat of negotiation, and the COMESA member states should be warmly congratulated on this achievement. The economic consequences are likely to be monumental for Africa's development. Collectively, the three regional blocs together constitute more than 60% of continental GDP. Four of the Africa's five largest economies, Egypt, Ethiopia, Kenya, and South Africa, are within the tripartite. So in many ways, COMESA can be understood in both geographical and economic terms as the backbone of the tripartite. As a result, what happens within the tripartite will have major consequences for the integration of the whole continent. It is important to remind ourselves that 80% of intra-Africa trade currently takes place within existing regional economic communities. Therefore, building bridges between regional economic communities is of paramount importance. And this leads me back to the CFTA. In the preamble to the African Continental Free Trade Area Treaty, the regional economic communities are designated as building blocks, meaning that their best practices and achievements are to be followed and incorporated into CFTA implementation. I sincerely believe this is the best way to deliver on the promise of creating a single continental market. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, allow me to return to the theme of this conference. Clearly, we must expand regional value chains if we wish to create a more integrated economy. This requires not only removing all the barriers to intra-Africa trade, but also creating the incentives for greater cross-border investment. Studies repeatedly show that FDI is handmaiden of trade. A 2022 ITC study identified over 90 promising value chains across the continent. And greater regional cooperation can definitely stimulate the emergence of such value chains, whether that is through collaborative efforts such as the Zambia-Zimbabwe Joint Agro-Industrial Park, the Southern and Eastern Africa power pools, or efforts to add value to the mineral sector. We all know that the demand for critical minerals will rise enormously over the coming decades. And so the question is Africa ready to take advantage of this, given its abundance of those critical minerals? Excellencies, in conclusion, we are clear at ECA that the regional economic communities are the building blocks of continental integration. We are also clear that COMESA has the institutions, rules, and regulations to help accelerate continental integration. And the numbers support this narrative. Total exports from COMESA member states to global markets have nearly doubled since 2022, and intra-COMESA trade has surged by over 70% between 2020 and 2023. It is also necessary to continue working closely with the CFTA Secretariat for better coordination to have maximum impact. ECA remains committed to providing technical expertise, innovative financing solutions, and data-driven policy support. Together, we can work towards an ever more integrated, resilient, and thriving COMESA. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much. Excellences, Mesdames, Messieurs, nous avons deux orateurs qui ont demandé l'intervention par vidéoconférence. Il s'agit du président de la BAD et du secrétaire général de la ZRECAF. Je voudrais demander à la cabine technique de nous partager leurs interventions.
Your Excellency, Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi, Your Excellency Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia and Chairperson of the COMESA, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government of COMESA countries, Honorable Ministers, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for inviting me to join you at this 23rd Summit of the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa Authority of Heads of State and Government. I deeply value the opportunity to engage with you. I wish that I could have been there physically, except that I am currently at the World Food Prize in Des Moines, Iowa in the United States, where I am with President Julius Maada Bio of Sierra Leone and President Samia Suluhu Hassan of the United Republic of Tanzania, who are here representing Africa together with me as we mobilize greater global partnerships for food security in Africa. The theme of this summit, accelerating regional integration through the development of regional value chains in climate-resilient agriculture, mining, and tourism, is fitting, timely, and fully aligned with the African Development Bank Group's new 10-year strategy, for which we are building a bigger, bolder, and better institution to support your efforts with our high fives, which are to light up and empower Africa, feed Africa, industrialize Africa, integrate Africa, and improve the quality of life of the people of Africa. Your Excellencies, let me share some examples of how the African Development Bank is working with COMESA on these key areas. On Integrate Africa, the African Development Bank is the largest investor in Africa's infrastructure space. By July of 2024, the COMESA region, accumulating North, East, and Southern Africa, accounted for 59% of the bank's multinational operations. The bulk of the investments, 51% going into transport corridors, which are crucial for connecting landlocked countries and markets to ports. And some of these include the Northern Corridor, North-South Corridor, Nakala Corridor, and Mombasa-Nairobi-Moyale-Addis Ababa Corridor. The African Development Bank is connecting Burundi, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Tanzania through the Standard Gauge Railway project. This $3.9 billion project will improve transport connectivity along that central corridor, enhance regional integration and trade, galvanize industrial action in critical minerals, and facilitate the flow of agricultural goods, services, and people within the sub-region. The African Development Bank contributed $1.2 billion to this project through a mix of concessional and non-concessional finance, and mobilized additional financing from commercial banks, development financial institutions, export credit agencies, and institutional investors, as we are the initial mandate lead arranger. Similarly, the Nacala Rail and Port Project, connecting Malawi and Mozambique, for which the bank is investing $636.5 million, is expected to boost COMESA's nation's export competitiveness and capitalize on the Africa Continental Free Trade Area prospects. Zambia is connected to Botswana through the Kazungula Bridge, which received $81.6 million in financing from the African Development Bank. This investment will enhance regional connectivity in the North-South corridor and strengthen COMESA's integration with the Southern Africa Development Community. Your Excellencies, at the African Development Bank, we believe that Africa can feed itself and must feed itself and the world. We want to ensure that 65% of the world's remaining arable land, which is in Africa, is put to good use to grow food for the world and making us a breadbasket for the world. Over the past decade, the African Development Bank's investments have restored approximately 190 million hectares of land back to productivity, built agro-industrial development parks to accelerate tremendous value addition. It has made financing available to countries to boost food production. Now, take for example, Ethiopia. Ethiopia has seen its wheat production capacity grow tremendously under the bank's what we call TAAT program, or Technologies for African Agricultural Transformation. In just under 4 years, Ethiopia has become a net exporter of wheat. Incredible. Now, building on this experience, the African Development Bank has also recently launched a $94 million initiative again in Ethiopia to boost that country's climate-resilient wheat value chain development. We believe that this model can be replicated across other food commodities across the entire COMESA region. Your Excellencies, we are working to transform agriculture as well in the Rusizi Plain, which borders Burundi, Rwanda, and the DRC. Through Burundi-Rwanda Integrated Development Project and $450 million in financing approved by the bank's board of directors in October of this year. This will be in addition to the construction of major and feeder roads, one-stop border posts, and the upgrade of existing roads to bitumen class, and to connect agricultural production sites to regional road networks in central and northern corridors, thereby improving access to farm inputs and markets. Now, as Africa produces more of its own food, which it must, there will be opportunities within COMESA with a population of 800 million people and $1.8 trillion of the continent's overall GDP. Now, the significance of these opportunities for COMESA is the reason the African Development Bank provided $8 million to support COMESA, East Africa Community, and SADC Tripartite Free Trade Area negotiations, which are being concluded, and the agreement is now in force. Congratulations. At the African Development Bank, your bank, we look forward to partnering and working with COMESA countries to address policy and regulatory barriers to trade, and so that together we can spoil the region's huge industrial development potential. Excellencies, while a lot has already been accomplished, much more remains to be done, and together we are now at a crucial point as we commence the implementation of the African Development Bank's new 10-year strategy, and as we work relentlessly to mobilize resources at even greater scale for the forthcoming replenishment of the African Development Fund, which of course, as you know, most commercial countries depend on to draw resources. there are also several opportunities for collaboration between the African Development Bank and COMESA. But let me focus on two critical areas where we hope to collaborate in the future. The first is transformative investments in infrastructure. One such example is the $4 billion Lobito Railway Corridor project, connecting the Democratic Republic of Congo and Zambia with access to the port through Angola. This promises opportunities for value-added production in critical minerals across the approximately 550 kilometers of rail to be constructed. It also promises opportunities for manufacturing industries in several value chains that can be strategically located along the corridor, as well as investments in renewable energy. The African Development Bank's commitment to finance this project and work in partnership with others, such as the United States government, the European Union, the African Finance Corporation, and the host governments of Zambia, Angola, and DRC to raise additional financing is reflective of the deep ambition we have to accelerate Africa's development through transformative integrated infrastructure projects. Secondly, we are looking forward to deepening production capacities all across Africa by building on our recent experience in strengthening the pharmaceutical sector in COMESA. In 2022, the African Development Bank approved $7 million for the COMESA Pharmaceutical Development Project, focusing on combating counterfeit products and harmonizing pharmaceutical policies. The African Development Bank has also established the African Pharmaceutical Technology Foundation, APTF, based in Kigali, to help build the capacities of pharmaceutical companies in Africa. Overall, Your Excellencies, the bank is also investing $3 billion across Africa's pharmaceutical sector. We look forward to building on this work to promote made in Africa pharmaceuticals so that we can build greater resilience in our societies. Let me close, Your Excellencies, by reiterating that there is a unique opportunity before us to create a faster track to Africa's prosperity. This will require strengthening your bank, the African Development Bank. And it is why I call on you to please support a strong replenishment of the African Development Fund, individually and collectively, as we seek to mobilize $25 billion in concessional financing. I believe that together we have an unprecedented opportunity to deliver bigger and more transformative investments across COMESA and the rest of Africa. Thank you very much.
Your Excellencies, our heads of states, Your Excellencies, Secretary General Madam Kapwepwe, honorable ministers, it is an honor to be invited to make the statement of support during the 23rd Summit of COMESA Heads of States and Government. COMESA has been instrumental in establishing a very strong foundation for what the AFCFTA aims to achieve at a continental level. Progress made in trade liberalization, trade facilitation, infrastructure development within the COMESA region serves as a model for greater integration on the continent. To realize our objectives, enhancing coordination between COMESA and other regional economic communities, as well as the AFCFTA Secretariat, is absolutely critical. We are committed as the AFCFTA Secretariat to work with COMESA to build on the progress that COMESA has made, to learn from COMESA, and to observe some of the achievements that COMESA has recorded over the decades. Together, I believe, we will address critical barriers such as non-tariff measures, infrastructure deficit, lack of harmonization of customs procedures, to ensure that on the march to the liberalization of trade on our continent, not only do we achieve these objectives, but we create competitiveness, create jobs, and enable our private sector to succeed. Building on the strong foundation of COMESA, the AFCFTA Secretariat, COMESA Secretariat, and Afreximbank have advanced quite significantly in developing a single bond guarantee scheme which will enable transit of goods seamlessly, efficiently, and cost-effectively across the African continent. We are most grateful to COMESA for agreeing that the transit guarantee scheme of COMESA, that it is rolled out to the rest of the continent as a model for us to follow. For these efforts in collaboration to be successful, regional economic communities and the AFCFTA Secretariat must integrate their strategic plans and must integrate their efforts pointed at regions as well as continental levels. Of course, we will have to together confront challenges, infrastructure deficit, the cost of trade finance, the lack of harmonized customs systems are some of the challenges that we will have to confront together. I am, however, very pleased, Your Excellencies, at the results of the collaboration between the AFCFTA Secretariat and COMESA. We remain committed to the strong partnership with COMESA, and we want to commit ourselves to a further partnership over the next decades as we implement Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. I thank you very much for this opportunity, and I wish you good deliberations.
Merci beaucoup. Excellences, Mesdames, Messieurs, nous approchons vers la fin des interventions pour ceux qui avaient demandé d'intervenir, mais s'il y a l'une ou l'autre délégation d'un pays membre de COMESA, il peut demander la parole. Alors, s'il n'y a pas d'autres interventions, nous arrivons à la fin de cette première session et je tiens à remercier tous les orateurs. Oui, comment?
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Excellences, Monsieur le Président de la République du Burundi, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Monsieur le Président de la Commission de l'Union africaine, Madame la Secrétaire générale du COMESA, honorable assistance, Mesdames et Messieurs, c'est un réel plaisir pour moi que je me tienne devant vous aujourd'hui au nom du Président de l'Union des Comores, Son Excellence Monsieur Azalia Soumani, pour exprimer notre soutien et notre engagement envers le 23e sommet de la conférence des chefs d'État du marché commun de l'Afrique orientale et australe, COMESA. À cette occasion, permettez-moi tout d'abord d'adresser mes sincères remerciements à Son Excellence Monsieur Evariste Ndayishimiye, Président de la République du Burundi, à son gouvernement, pour l'accueil chaleureux et fraternel et l'hospitalité généreuse qui nous ont été réservés sur le sol burundais. J'exprime ainsi à l'ensemble des autorités burundaises toute notre gratitude pour les bonnes dispositions prises pour rendre notre séjour aussi agréable. Je leur adresse nos chaleureuses félicitations pour la bonne organisation de notre sommet et le bon déroulement de nos travaux qui présagent, j'en suis convaincu, des conclusions pertinentes et des résultats à la hauteur de nos attentes. Permettez-moi également de saluer la pertinence du thème proposé pour notre sommet. Accélérons l'intégration régionale par le développement des chaînes de valeur régionales dans les domaines de l'agriculture résiliente, au climat, de l'exploitation minière et du tourisme. Ce thème est déterminant pour l'intégration de nos économies et nos sociétés, qui est essentielle non seulement pour garantir la sécurité alimentaire, mais aussi pour stimuler le développement économique et social de nos territoires. En Union des Comores, le gouvernement est pleinement engagé à soutenir les agriculteurs en lui offrant tous les moyens nécessaires pour le développement de la chaîne de valeur agricole. C'est à ce titre et avec le soutien continu de ses partenaires techniques et financiers qu'il a lancé plusieurs projets et programmes en vue de promouvoir le développement de micro, petites et moyennes entreprises et des acteurs des chaînes de valeur concernés dans l'agriculture, le tourisme, des secteurs associés aux Comores. Cela consiste essentiellement à restructurer les chaînes de valeur agricoles en mettant l'accent sur la réhabilitation des plateformes d'intervention au sein de l'agriculture, à savoir les centres ruraux du développement économique CER2, en réhabilitant et en mettant en place des magasins de stockage, des unités de transformation, des pistes rurales devant permettre d'assurer la connectivité entre les zones de production et les zones de commercialisation. Il s'agissait aussi de mettre à la disposition des producteurs des semences de races améliorées d'animaux en vue de maximiser la production agricole et d'une manière durable. Cela se poursuit aussi avec la mise en place de mécanismes de soutien technique et financier aux micro, petits et moyennes entreprises et entrepreneurs comoriens qui évoluent dans le secteur de l'agriculture et du tourisme. Ces activités ont donné des résultats très significatifs pour le développement de la chaîne de valeur agricole à travers une amélioration des cadres institutionnels et réglementaires des secteurs cités, avec le renforcement des capacités des structures d'appui aux agriculteurs et l'adoption de plusieurs tests réglementaires. Plusieurs infrastructures liées au développement de la chaîne de valeur ont été réalisées, notamment la réhabilitation et opérationnalisation des centres ruraux de développement économique CER2, dont des bâtiments administratifs, des étables, des chèvreries, des magasins de stockage, des produits agricoles, des poulaillers et des citernes pour une agriculture plus résiliente. L'opérationnalisation des plateformes d'intervention, à savoir les centres ruraux de développement économique CER2, a concerné aussi la remise à ce centre des mobiliers de bureau, du matériel informatique pour les bâtiments administratifs, des véhicules pick-up, des motocross, des tracteurs neufs, des outils agricoles, des camions-bennes et des motobennes. Il y a lieu de noter aussi que plusieurs pistes rurales qui assurent la connectivité entre les zones de production et de commercialisation ont été réhabilitées. Ces activités de développement de la chaîne de valeur agricole concernaient aussi la distribution de lianes de vanille aux producteurs. Ceci constitue une contribution à l'augmentation de la production de la vanille, donc une amélioration de l'état des produits d'exportation du pays. La distribution de plantes fruitières aux agriculteurs de 3 îles contribuera également au développement de l'arboriculture fruitière aux Comores et permettra d'accélérer la croissance de la production agricole, de réduire le prix à la consommation, d'assurer la sécurité alimentaire et nutritionnelle et de soutenir la transformation et l'industrialisation et donc une nouvelle source de revenus aux producteurs. Parallèlement, des formations axées sur toutes les thématiques, alimentation, reproduction, santé et gestion, ont été dépensées au personnel de CER2. Excellences, Monsieur le Président, distingués invités, le tourisme qui constitue un levier de développement essentiel est un autre domaine où les Comores peuvent jouer un rôle clé dans l'intégration régionale. Nous avons l'intime conviction qu'en développant une offre touristique durable, nous avons l'opportunité non seulement de générer des emplois et d'attirer des investissements, mais aussi de promouvoir la paix et la compréhension entre nos peuples. En effet, les îles Comores, avec le paysage paradisiaque, à couper le souffle et leur richesse culturelle, ont toutes les potentialités pour constituer une destination prisée. L'Union des Comores pourra ainsi à mesure apporter sa contribution pour positionner notre région comme une destination touristique de choix sur le continent. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, honorables assistances, le lancement de ces premières activités pour le développement de la chaîne de valeur agricole à l'Union des Comores a créé l'engouement au niveau des différents acteurs de la chaîne de valeur agricole et a permis à plusieurs partenaires techniques et financiers du pays d'initier de nouveaux programmes pour la continuité et la pérennité des actions déjà mises en place. La chaîne des valeurs au Comores représente ainsi une opportunité sans précédent pour notre pays. En mettant en œuvre ces stratégies, nous avons constaté que nous avons non seulement amélioré notre économie, mais aussi garantir un avenir prospère pour les générations à venir. C'est pourquoi je voudrais, pour clore mon propos, souligner l'importance de la collaboration entre les différents acteurs de nos économies, gouvernement, secteur privé et organisations non gouvernementales. Chaque partenaire a un rôle à jouer, mais c'est ensemble que nous pouvons créer un écosystème favorable à la croissance et au développement durable de nos pays, de la sous-région. Thank you for your attention.
Merci beaucoup. Voilà, Excellences, Mesdames, Messieurs, nous arrivons à la fin de cette première session et je tiens à remercier les orateurs pour leur allocution qui inspire à une intégration régionale plus effective. Ceci donne l'espoir que demain sera meilleur qu'aujourd'hui, car ensemble, tout est possible. Alors maintenant, je donne la parole au maître de cérémonie pour nous parler de la suite de cette session.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président de la conférence du COMESA. À présent, Vos Excellences, nous allons passer à la session huis clos. Mais avant cela, nous allons convier Leur Excellence à une photo de famille. La première photo de famille sera pour le bureau. Le nouveau bureau de la conférence des chefs d'État et de gouvernement du COMESA. Après cette première photo de famille, on aura une photo de famille des chefs des délégations des 21 États membres de la communauté de cette grande famille du COMESA. Ensuite, nous aurons une troisième photo de famille, les chefs des délégations, plus les représentants des organisations régionales et internationales. Et enfin, une photo de famille plus élargie avec les hauts dignitaires du Burundi ici présents, Son Excellence la Première Dame de la République du Burundi, Très honorable le Président de l'Assemblée nationale, les anciens chefs d'État du Burundi et les anciennes Premières Dames. The first group photo will be for the Bureau of the Conference of the COMESA. The next family photo will be for Their Excellencies, Head of State and Head of the Delegations. We'll have the third photo with the representative of organization, regional and international. And the other one is sent to the high authority of the country. Nous invitons les protocoles à guider Leur Excellence les chefs d'État ici présents ainsi que les chefs de délégation pour la deuxième photo de famille. Their Excellency, Head of State are welcomed for the second group photo and the Head of Delegations. Les chefs des délégations des États membres or heads of delegation from partner states, les États membres avant les organisations, d'abord les États membres, les chefs de délégation des États membres, ça c'est le deuxième groupe. nous voudrions demander une photo exclusive pour les chefs des délégations des États membres. Celle-ci, c'est avec les organisations régionales et internationales. Après, nous aurons les représentants de nos organisations régionales et internationales. Nous invitons les hautes autorités, son Excellence la Première Dame de la République du Burundi, le très honorable Président de l'Assemblée nationale du Burundi, les anciens chefs d'État du Burundi, les anciennes Premières Dames du Burundi. Let's welcome Her Excellency the First Lady of the Republic of Burundi to join the group photo. High Honorable, the President of the National Assembly, former President of Burundi, former First Lady of Burundi,